Am I the arsehole for ditching the girls' holiday on the way to the airport? Story time. Yes, I am a little bit ill, please bear with me. So, I was supposed to go on a girls' holiday with my longtime friend. We'd been friends for like 10 years. And we will call my best friend Amy. So it was going to be me and Amy and then this other girl, who we will call Lucy. And listen, I was really excited to meet Lucy. Heard great things from my best friend. It was going to be great. So Amy and Lucy actually only live about 3 hours away from where we were going to go on holiday. So they said that they were going to drive. And they asked me if I would go with them. So I would go to their house and then they would drive to the holiday destination. This literally made no sense to me because I could fly there quicker than I could drive to where they live. So the day before we are going to get there, Amy sends me a link to this museum and she tells me that I need to book the tickets. She's like, me and Lucy have already booked our tickets, so you just need to book yours now. And they had booked their tickets for like, I think it was like 11:30. However, when I went on the website, they only had 8:30 in the morning available. So I was just like, whatever, I'll just do something else, you guys can go, because I wasn't too arsed about going to that museum anyway. Amy had done the majority of the booking for this trip. She'd done all of the accommodation, etc. So I texted her and I was like, how much do I owe you for all of this? And this was the second time I'd asked her since she booked. To be fair, I didn't really have much of a role in doing much of the booking. They did most of it, so I just assumed that I would send them my part when the time came, when they asked for it, and they never did. So the morning of my flight comes, I'm sat at the airport and I get a text from Amy. So they actually had ended up inviting a guy with them and that he would be staying in the hotel that was meant for me. She sent me a link to the hotel and I went to have a little look and turns out that there were no rooms left at this hotel. Isn't that just great? So at this point I started to panic and I started to check all of the hotels in the area, see if they had any availability. And just for reference, the original hotel was going to be about £250. The cheapest available option was £475. But I really wanted to go. I'd not seen my friends in a really long time, so I bit the bullet and booked an expensive hotel. On the way there, I just had this like gut feeling that I wasn't going to enjoy myself. So I booked myself an Uber and I went home. So I texted Amy and I was like, listen girl, I'm really, really sorry, but I'm going to sit this one out. I made it very clear that I was expecting a girls' trip and now this guy Steve is coming along. And now Amy is being incredibly short with me. And she is convinced that I am being unreasonable. Do you think I'm being the arsehole here?
Story time about how my best friend punched me in the face just to impress a group of boys. A little background information. My best friend did not have a lot of experience with boys. Once she did start talking to boys, this girl did a personality switch as soon as a boy walked into a room. She would usually just act a little bit more of like a pick-me, but never like make fun of me in front of the boys. Well, the one night her and I, we went to this party. Her and I liked the same guy, which is always a recipe for disaster. But to make sure that there were no issues, we both decided that whoever he liked would get him. Majority of the night, he ends up talking to me. And I didn't really think that there was a problem because she seemed like she was fine with it. Until a little bit later, I hear her screaming, I want to fight someone. She's like, Brad, do you know that she can't fight? He's like, oh, you can't fight? And he goes, I think you two should fight right now. So then I'm like, I'm not doing this. And she goes, no, I think Brad's right. I think we should fight. So then I'm like, okay, well, you can have fun fighting somebody else because I'm leaving. She runs outside, grabs me by my hair and punches me in the face. And just literally actually just beats the shit out of me. I did end up pressing charges on her, but moral of the story, don't be best friends with girls who don't know how to act around men.
Men are literally just so weird. So a part of my men's cleanse, I decided like, oh, I'm just gonna unfollow most of my Instagram whores. I don't really care about them. You know, like if I truly don't give a fuck about you, why am I following you on Instagram? Like the math isn't mathing. One of my old Instagram whores slides in my DMs and he's like, you're moving, question mark? I said, yeah. He said, where? I said, LA. I said, why? And that's when I just stopped answering because I was like, oh wait, like I don't give a fuck about this man. Like why am I having this conversation? But then he follows up and sends me a text and was like, hey, if I saw you unfollowed me, if I ever offended you or did something that like upset you, I'm so sorry. Okay, I guess that's really nice. So I didn't want to respond like, oh no, I unfollowed you because I literally just don't fuck with you or even care about you. I just didn't respond, which is a very common thing for me to do, is just not respond. Hey, I'm scrolling through my DMs to find something and I realized this man unsent his message. Like, why are men weird? Like, why would you unsend that? Like, joke's on you, bitch. I did take a screenshot. I sent absolutely everything to Nicole. It's like had me thinking, I'm like, men are so fucking weird. Like, that was a nice message to send. And like, yeah, I didn't respond, but like that was a nice message to send. Like you unsent it because you don't want to be perceived as a nice person. Like why? You're weird for that. Like you're really weird for that. Probably like, Olivia, like you didn't respond. I don't respond to half that man's messages. That didn't stop him from talking to himself in my DMs for the past 2 years. And it had me thinking of like weird other shit men have done. It reminded me of this one story that I've just been waiting to tell. When things ended with this one dumb fuck I was seeing, and you know what? I look back on that time in my life and I was like, was I on meth? I'm genuinely like, why the fuck was I talking to this weird ass man? Whatever. Him and I ended, and he had one of my bracelets. Don't even ask me why. I don't fucking know. The man wanted my bracelet. I let him borrow it for one of his outfits. No, and this is embarrassing. Like me being like, I let him borrow my bracelet for one of his outfits, and it was like a bedazzled little bracelet that said Soho on it. And I gave this dumb fuck my manifestation oil. I tell you, I don't care how down bad you are for a man, never give him your manifestation oil, even if it's just like the last little bit of it. When we ended things, I was like, hey, can I have my bracelet back? And he was like, no. I was like, bitch, did you just say no? He was like, yeah, no. So for weeks, I'm asking this dumb fuck for my bracelet back. He's either just like not answering me or just being like, no, like can't, no. I do what any bitch would do in that situation. And I say, well, my dead friend gave me that bracelet. That's the last thing I have of her. Like my dead friend gave that to me. Like I genuinely need it back. This man is still fucking hesitant to give me my bracelet back. It's my fucking bracelet. It's like, you're a weird bitch for keeping my bracelet. And that's exactly why I should have never talked to that man, because he was always a bitch. Like, you're so weird for that. Like you're so creepy and fucking weird that you want to keep my dead friend's bracelet. Yeah, I lied, but you would do it too to get your favorite bracelet back. This man was still like not giving me my bracelet back. So what I did next, you know what? I am fucking proud of it. I was about to be like, I'm not proud of it. I did send Sissy, my assistant, I made her send him a text that was like, hey, I need to grab this bracelet. It's like a part of my errand. Mind you, like he met Sissy. He knew Sissy worked for me. Poor Sissy at the time that she had to be in the middle of that. Like imagine going to work and your task for that day is like, get Livy's bracelet back from a weird fuck. But as soon as Sissy texted him, he's so nice. He was like, yeah, I can drop it off at this time. I can drop it off at that time. I'm like, you are such a little weird bitch. Honestly think that he was just like a little bit scared of Sissy, and that was really like the only reason why he was gonna give me my bracelet back. I was like, okay, but he also needs to like drop off my manifestation oil. Like that manifestation oil was so fucking special to me, and I actually hope this man gets eaten by an alligator because of the fact that like he did not give me my manifestation oil back because he's a weird, creepy bitch. Not gonna lie, I was literally sobbing about my manifestation oil because like that's the fucking manifestation I used to manifest the million, and now this dumb weird fuck has it. I was like genuinely so upset. I feel like I could do a story time for days on just like weird shit men have done, but those are just like a couple ones where I'm like, why are you weird?
My fiance almost cheated on me. I have no clue what to do. I know that almost sounds silly, but here's the story to clarify. I have been with my fiance for a little over 4 years, and we got engaged at the end of August. He is truly a salt of the earth, big old teddy bear, everyone loves him sort of guy. We are best friends, and for the most part, have a very healthy relationship. He comes from a very broken home with an addict father who left him when he was a kid, which has developed into a low self-esteem issue where he feels like he isn't good enough for some people. I've always tried to make him feel like he's enough for me, but he still struggles with it. I just never thought the problem would get this big. Anyway, about a year ago, he started a new job. Within a few weeks, he started referencing this girl a lot about how cool she is mostly and funny stories about her. Mind you, she is also in a long-term relationship. I normally don't care about stuff like that, but the way he spoke about her struck me as odd. Then I met her at their work Christmas party last year and immediately got red flags about her demeanor towards him. I let him know that she made me a bit uncomfortable and we moved on. Fast forward to recently and I'm out of state. He texts me that he's going out for drinks with his coworkers and he never mentions her name in the group of people going. One of his coworkers is a friend of mine, and he later mentions the night out and how my fiance had taken her and another guy home. I asked him why he didn't tell me about it, and he said he didn't want to make me mad. This turned into a whole fight about him lying, and I asked him for the full truth. Come to find out, they'd been flirting with each other for a while at work, to the point where they have been having conversations about how they would have been something else together in high school, and how if they weren't in relationships, they'd go out with each other. I asked him if he took her home because he wanted something physical to happen, and he said she asked him for the ride because she was drunk. He didn't trust himself, so he offered to give someone else a ride as well so they weren't alone together. But then he also texted her the next day offering to drive her back to her car, which she didn't end up needing. I asked him what the deal was with them, and he said that he had no feelings for her, but that he is attracted to her and it makes him feel good and more confident when she is flirting with him. She ended up getting fired for something irrelevant to the situation, so they aren't around each other anymore. I told him I needed some time to think about our future together. I'm truly at a loss. He's the only person who's ever made me feel truly safe and fully myself. He has been begging me not to leave and promising over and over that he will call a therapist tomorrow to start working through all of his self-esteem issues and trauma. I feel so hurt and don't know what to do.
Today I effed up by poisoning myself and almost drowning. Last summer I wanted to do some endurance swimming. I took myself out to Black Sandy Beach and challenged myself to swim across the lake. The distance was about half of a mile. I had done this a few times. I felt confident. On my way out I drank 5-hour energy drink, did some breathing exercises, and got in the water. It was a nice summer day and the lake had grown thick with green algae. The greens lined the shore fairly thick, but once I swam out a few yards I didn't have to contend with the bramble anymore. I was able to make my way steadily to the opposite shore. I decided I had plenty of time to explore. I started swimming south along the far bank, periodically turning onto my back to rest and enjoy the sunshine. Just under half a mile along I found a break in the shore and wondered if a river or stream flowed into the lake from there. The water there was stagnant, so there was no inlet, but I saw 2 deer coming up to the shoreline. I wanted to see how close I could get and I had my eyes trained on them. I was cutting across the cove toward the deer when I started to smell the scent of bitter almond. Odd. I tore my gaze from the deer and looked down at the water. The hue of the algae was no longer a mossy green but rather a teal blue. I was right in the middle of it. I started to get a bad feeling. My gut told me to go back to my truck. The swim back was longer. I had traveled a ways south. I pushed myself harder, intent on getting back. Some kayakers checked on me but I insisted I was fine. A little over halfway back a wave of exhaustion hit. That concerned me a bit, but I was determined to reach the shore. I eventually neared the shore. My legs caught in the undergrowth. I struggled to stay upright. My right calf started to cramp hard. I fought, kicking past the brambles with just one leg. I felt for the lake bed. I needed to touch bottom, to let my leg rest. No such luck. I pressed on. My other leg cramped. I was weirdly unconcerned. A moment later my foot touched bottom. I felt a surge of relief. It hurt to swim. It hurt to stand too, but I wouldn't drown doing it. Tiny alarm bells rang in my mind. Something was wrong. I felt great. Ecstatic. On top of the world. It didn't make sense to feel that way. I was in pain. I'd almost died. Why did I feel so good? I painfully made my way to the water's edge. I crawled onto the shore. I heard voices on the other side of the brush. They asked if I was okay. I tuned them out. I stretched my calves. I heard the voices say, "Yeah, she's fine." The ground beneath me shifted. I looked up at a tree. It was shifting too. It reminded me of a mushroom trip. I had not taken any substances except caffeine. I should have been worried. I wasn't. I felt great. The cramping subsided. I made my way up to my truck. The world spun. I climbed in my truck bed to wait it out. I was reminded that I should be concerned. I should go to the hospital. I decided to go home instead. I still felt pretty good. I started to sweat on the highway. My window was down. My clothes were soaked. Why am I sweating? I made it home. I got in the shower. I kept turning the heat up. I was sweating. I was so cold. I stepped out of the shower and looked into the mirror. My lips and my tongue were blue. What the hell? I pulled up Google. I checked symptoms but came up blank. I remembered the blue algae. I looked it up. I found a warning. The algae was poisonous. Cyanide. I had cyanide-induced hypoxia. Oh, shit. I got back in my truck. I went to Panda Express. What? I was hungry. I looked up the antidote to cyanide poisoning. I still felt pretty good. I was aware on some level I should be at the hospital. My urge to satiate my hunger was stronger. The antidote to cyanide poisoning was cyanocobalamin, aka vitamin B12. Huh. 5-hour energy has B12. The article also mentioned oxygen therapy. Well, I had that down. I breathed quite heavily during my swim. I picked up another 5-hour, downed it, went to bed, and passed out. When I woke up I told my husband about my experience. He got upset. He asked me why I didn't tell him to take me to the hospital. I wondered the same thing. I looked up symptoms of hypoxia again. One of the side effects of hypoxia is that you can be fully aware that you are dying but you just don't care. I'm lucky to still be alive. What's the creepiest, scariest paranormal thing you've seen while working on a night shift somewhere? I used to work the night shift at a nursing home. I had just started doing my nightly pickup of laundry outside the rooms where they leave their laundry bags. There was a man I'll call Chuck, who was a resident. He hated leaving his laundry outside his door because he thought he wouldn't get his clothing back. After reassuring him for the umpteenth time he finally let me take it. So this particular night started off strange. Lights flickered and residents seemed uneasy, fitful, sleeping and walking around aimlessly. We tried to get everyone in their rooms and get them in bed. I did notice Chuck wasn't out, but then again he wasn't the social type, so I brushed it off. As I'm doing my rounds I see Chuck dressed and standing at the end of the hallway where his room is. I say to him, "Chuck, why are you dressed and out of bed? It's late." He turns toward his room and goes in. I finish with that end of the hall and start walking toward Chuck's room. As I approach the lights in the hallway go out. I take my cell phone and turn on the flashlight. Chuck is standing on the other end of the hall that I had just left from. Confused, I say, "Chuck? How did you do that?" He walks toward the game room, behind a wall, and I lose sight of him. I call my supervisor and let her know Chuck's walking around in the dark. I'm too scared to walk there alone to get him, and to send security to help me find him. Security shows up and we go into the game room. "No Chuck." Security asks if I'm sure I saw him and I say I'm absolutely sure. "Let's go back to his room." At this time I'm simply dumbfounded as to how this is even happening. We go into his room and Chuck has died. No alarms went off on his monitor, nothing to alert us he was in any distress. The clothes I saw him in were in a bag with a note on top that said I couldn't take them with me.